Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be a little bit spontaneous. I actually had a completely different video planned to go up today, and then I received this eyeshadow palette in PR, and I figured, you know what, I might as well just do a really quick little review on this. I also asked you guys over on Instagram if you are interested in seeing this. Basically, Urban Decay launched a new palette. This was sent to me, but this video is not sponsored. I was not expecting to be as intrigued in this as I was when I opened it. I definitely was tagged several times when Trend Mood posted about it. You guys just know my vibe, and this is definitely a palette that I feel like fits my aesthetic, but it wasn't until I saw it in person that I was like, okay, this might be something that I should review, because I figured if I was really intrigued by it and if it inspired me just by looking at it, maybe some of you guys would want to see, you know, a look with it or kind of hear my thoughts. So here is the palette. This is the Urban Decay Stoned Vibes palette. Look at this packaging. If you can't tell straight on, this is actually a raised kind of crystal portion of the palette. The packaging is stunning, like it's to die for. I really, really love it. And then I'll show you the inside. So here's the inside of the palette. It's such a unique kind of a palette with the 4 mattes and then 8 different shimmers. When I first saw this online, I thought that these shades in the middle were glitters, but they're actually not. They're very similar looking to the ones in the Huda Beauty New Nude palette. If any of you guys own those, you know, like the speckly ones that are actually just like a pressed shadow, but they do have a little bit more reflect in them and they're more metallic. That's what these are. I thought it was gonna be glitter, but it's not. We're gonna try this out today, and it's just gonna be like a single product focused video. I like to do these sometimes because sometimes it's just nice to focus on one thing at a time, you know? So everything else I'm gonna use to complete the look will be listed down below, and it's gonna be all things that I've used before, mostly. I say mostly because I just bought a lip product that I did want to try, but we'll get to that later. So I pinned my hair back. We're gonna go ahead and do a little bit of eyeshadow primer. I'm gonna use my NARS Tinted Smudge Proof eyeshadow base. I'm just gonna go ahead and apply this onto the eyelids, and as you can see, I did already do my brows off camera. I'm just gonna use a concealer brush to blend this out. They sent me another one of their Urban Decay Primer Potion eyeshadow primers. This is actually a really good eyeshadow primer, but the NARS ones are more familiar to me, so I figured I would just use what I'm the most used to and what I use on almost a daily basis. One of the great things about the Urban Decay palettes is that they usually do, oh my gosh, my camera is not wanting to focus today. Here we go. Usually the palettes come with a brush, which is really nice. So I'm gonna dip into this brush first, and I think I'm gonna take this shade right here called Antidote. This seems like the transition shade in the palette. So we're gonna begin with this, and I'm gonna start on the right eye, buffing it back and forth. And then once there's less on the brush, I'm just gonna buff and blend this up toward the brow and out toward the edge. Okay, so this is definitely like a pure peach, which is kind of interesting. But at the same time, I do see how it could really mesh with all the colors in here. I'm gonna do the same thing on this eye. Another thing I should note is this palette looks like it would be really heavy, but it's actually not too heavy, which is nice. And the mirror in here is really, really nice because it's a little bit more of like a beefy palette. If you're familiar with like the Urban Decay Naked palettes, the mirrors are a little bit more long. This one, you can actually see your full face in, which is really great. And yeah, it's not too heavy to hold, at least not right now, so that's nice too. I'm just gonna continue to kind of buff this up and out. Okay, so I'm actually gonna switch brushes, and I'm gonna go into this shade right here called Hexed. This is what we're gonna use to kind of start building up a little bit more depth and shape on this outer portion of the lid. So I'm gonna take this and just kind of press this on the outer portion, and then once there's a little less on the brush, I'm gonna start bringing that into the crease just to deepen things up a little bit. Again, I feel like this layout is so interesting because you really only have one shade per situation. You have like a highlight shade, a transition shade, a shade like this that's just gonna kind of add a little bit more depth, and then you have like a deep purple that can kind of smoke out your look. And then you have 8 different shimmer colors. So it's kind of an interesting layout, but I almost like the idea of that, because it kind of keeps it simple, you know? Then you're able to just pick your shimmer color or a couple of shimmer colors, and there's not really much else to decide after that. So it's kind of funny, when I'm looking straight on in the mirror, everything looks fine, and then when I do this, you can see kind of the patchiness happening here. I don't know if that was my fault with the primer, or if that's just a patchy shade. I'm not really sure. Huh, okay. Just something to take note of, I guess. All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the shimmer shades. So let's swatch them all first. I normally don't do that. Like, I usually just like to jump into the looks, but I really feel like it might give us a good idea of each shade. So I'm gonna swatch the top row first, which is Jade, Opal Aura, Tiger's Eye, and Vibes. So here they are swatched. They're very buttery. This one is, the green is Shade, then we have Opal Aura, Tiger's Eye, and Vibes. So very reflective, very buttery. There's some slight glitter pigment to it, but it's not too intense. And then I'll swatch the bottom row for you as well. This shade looks really interesting. Ooh, it is. I just swatched Bloodstone. Look at that. That's really cool. It's kind of a duochrome. Ooh, I like that one. Then we have this gorgeous blue shade called Ojo. Whoa, that's pretty too. Raw Energy is next. It's a really gorgeous purple. Ooh, oh, that might be my favorite. And then last but not least, we have a shade called Meditate. So here's the bottom row right here. So again, we have Bloodstone, Ojo, Raw Energy, which is a gorgeous kind of lavender shimmer. And then we have a purple right here, which is called Meditate. All right, I'm trying to figure out which one I want to do. I think I was the most intrigued by Bloodstone. So I'm gonna take that first with my finger. And I'm gonna start to apply this on the outer portion of the lid. I can't tell if because it's duochrome, I'm not able to see where it's applying or if it's applying patchy. Guys, I don't know if it's just me or what. It's a really cool color though. I almost do feel like it might work better on top of a primer like the Urban Decay one because the Urban Decay primer is a little bit more tacky, so I'm sure they formulate the shadows to work with that primer specifically, but even then, you know, it should be able to work on its own if you want it to. Do you see that spot? I can't figure it out. Okay, well, we're gonna move on to the next shade that I was interested in. So that was definitely Vibes. Or no, I meant Raw Energy. I really wanna try this one out on the lid. So I'm just gonna take that on my finger and I'm gonna use this on the inner portions of the lid. Okay, now that is a really cool color. Ooh, I like that one a lot actually. And this one seems to be appearing to apply a little bit easier. I do feel like you still have to layer up quite a bit of this to get the intense metallic finish, but that is definitely one of the most unique eyeshadow colors that I own. Wow, that's really nice. Okay, I'm into that definitely. All right, next I'm gonna take the Opal Aura shade right here, and I'm gonna take the other side of that brush that came with the palette, and I'm wanting that to be my inner corner highlight. I definitely feel like they pick up a little bit easier with a finger, these shimmer shades at least. It's a little bit more difficult to get them to adhere to a brush. Okay, I do want to smoke out the outer corner a little bit more, so I'm going to use the shade Third Eye at the bottom. And I'm going to apply that right here along the outer corner and then a little bit into that outer V, just to kind of deepen up the crease slightly. I'm taking a little bit more of that center shade called Raw Energy on my finger again, and I just want to kind of intensify that in the center of the lid. I just really love that color. Going back to the brush we used at the very beginning with the transition shade, I'm just going into the crease a little bit more just to make sure everything is blended on the edges. I'm kind of going back in with the brush we used with the Third Eye shade, which is the deepest matte shade in the palette. I'm just taking what's left on the brush and kind of buffing this higher. And then I'm going to go back in with that peachy brush, again, not adding any more product and just kind of buffing things out. Okay, I'm actually pretty happy with how the top lid looks. I am going to take my makeup wipe and just clean up any fallout. There definitely is a bit of glitter fallout from those shades, but that's why I always do my eyes first when testing out an eyeshadow palette. Okay, so since this is just a dedicated eyeshadow palette video, I'm gonna go ahead and do my complexion really quickly, and then we are going to go back to the lower lash line. And I almost want to try it with the Urban Decay primer potion. I have one already that's opened, but I kind of want to put that on the lower lash line just to see how the shadows adhere, to see if there is a difference between primers, if that makes sense. So I will be right back and we will finish up the eye look and try that primer. Okay, so I've done most of my base makeup, and then I'll do my blush and highlight and lip stuff at the end. I just want to figure out what the whole vibe is with the eye look first. Just in case you are wondering, I used the Tatcha Liquid Silk Canvas Primer. I used my Dose of Colors Meet Your Hue Foundation. I used my Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Concealer under the eyes. I've got the Maybelline City Bronzer and the Milani Baked Bronzer in the shade 09 Dolce on the outer perimeters of the face, and that's all I have so far. So I'm going to take the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion. While I was applying my base, I did actually go on the Urban Decay website and I checked the back of this box, and it actually says on the back, it says, heads up, this creamy buildable formula is best when touched and swiped. For a more intense color payoff, use your fingers with the marbleized shimmer shades. Use the flat end of the double end brush with the matte shades to build depth, or diffuse and blend with the fluffy end. So they say to make sure you use your fingers with the shimmer shades, which is good to know since I was trying to use the brush. And also on their website, I think I saw, they said a pro tip is to use the Urban Decay All Nighter spray on the brush to give it an even more intense foiled look. So it seems like this is a more unique formula, and if you don't read the fine print, you might be having a little bit more of a hard time working with it, like I feel like I did in the beginning. But anyway, let's try the primer on the lower lash line to see if that does anything. I didn't use any powder on the under eye area yet because I wanted to be able to blend this out. So I just dabbed some on the lower lash line, and I'm gonna take a fluffy brush and just kind of buff this all the way across the lower lash line. All right, so I'm gonna go in with the brush we were just using. I'm gonna take a little bit of this shade right here. My camera is not focusing today. Hello? This shade right here. It's called Hexed. I'm gonna take that on a fluffy brush. We use this on the top lid, but I'm just gonna pinch the edge, and I'm gonna buff that on the lower lash line on the outer third and just connect it to that existing matte outer corner on the top lid. Same thing over here, making sure to connect the two. So since it says that the best way to use the shimmer shades is either with your finger or if you want a foiled look, spray your brush. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna spray a little brush before I go in on the lower lash line with my Urban Decay All Nighter Setting Spray. And then I'm gonna take the shade Raw Energy, which is that really cool duochrome color that we have in the center of the lid. And I'm gonna go in with this right here on the lower lash line. Okay, yeah, this is picking up really nicely with a damp brush, actually. I almost wish I would have done that on the top lid instead of my finger, but that's all right, we're learning as we go. I'm just gonna buff this right here as well, and that created a very nice foiled look. I'm gonna spray the brush again, and this time I'm gonna go into that really cool duochrome shade called Bloodstone right here. And I'm gonna focus this one on the outer third of the lower lash line, right up against the lashes. So basically right on top of that matte shade we applied, but even closer to the lashes. So they're layered, but they're not completely covering each other. I think that worked so much better to use a damp brush, and it feels like maybe the primer helped too. I don't know. We're gonna go back into the brush that we used in the beginning, and this is the one that comes with the palette, and I'm gonna take the peach shade that we started with called Antidote, and I'm wanting this to be kind of buffed along the lower lash line, but I don't want to disturb the shimmer we just applied. So I'm literally applying it right underneath and blending it out. Okay, I'm kind of taking that little brush and I'm dipping back into Opal Aura, and I'm just kind of cleaning up and intensifying the edges in the inner third with that. I'm gonna spray the brush one more time. Guys, it works so much better with a damp brush, I'm telling you. Like, they perform really, really nicely. And after I spray the brush, I'm kind of like letting the pigment melt into it a little bit. My goodness, my camera today. I don't know if you can really see that. It's probably blurry, but what can you do? My camera's just not cooperating. And I'm just gonna take that and apply it in the inner corner. Oh my gosh, see how much more pigmented that is? And I was being very gentle in the pan because you don't wanna like ruin the shimmers, but it really does help to have a little bit of a damp brush. Okay, since I did not powder underneath the eyes, I'm gonna kind of take my sponge and bring up that peach shade a little bit higher. I think I got it down a little too low underneath the eyes. And then I'm going to take the shade Third Eye, which is the deepest shade in the palette, and I'm going to take that on the flat side of the brush like they suggest, and I'm going to use that to really deepen up this outer third of the lash line, both on the top lid, and I'm going to take a little bit of that right up against the lashes on the lower lash line as well, making sure to connect the two. Okay, let's go ahead and apply mascara. I think that's where I want the eye look. I'm happy with it. Let's see here. I want to use my Marc Jacobs At Lashed mascara today. And I'm going to go ahead and layer this up pretty heavily on the top and bottom lashes. I always like to do a pretty heavy lash when I have more glam eye looks, so I'm going to really layer this up. Alright, so mascara is on the eyes. We're going to go ahead and quickly finish up the look, and then I feel like I have a pretty good idea about what I think about this palette, and my opinion kind of changed throughout the video, so we will get to my thoughts in a second. I just wiped off the foundation that got on the lips. I want to use my Bobbi Brown art stick in the shade Bear. It's basically just a big crayon, and I'm going to color in the lips with this. I definitely feel like I need to sharpen this. The lip line's got a little bit out of hand. So I'm just taking a nude lip liner to kind of clean up the edges. This is the KKW Beauty 90s Style Liner. And then I recently bought this from Pat McGrath. It's the Pat McGrath Lip Shine in the shade Nude Venus. I don't know, I saw this on Instagram and then I just bought this, nothing else, off of Pat McGrath's website because I was so into it. The packaging is gorgeous and it's like a nude lip balm, so I wanted to layer that on top. Okay, I think I'm going to use this blush right here. This is my Patrick Ta Monochrome Moment Blush in the shade She's Sincere, and it's a really pretty peach. I'm just going to smile and start to apply this onto the cheeks. I felt like the peach would match the peach transition shade on the eyes, which it does. And then I needed to pick a highlighter. I almost feel like I should choose something that's a little more iridescent maybe to just match the overall eye look. I'm just using this small brush to buff the edges of the blush. I'm gonna go find the highlighter that I have in my mind. Be right back. Okay, I thought that this might be fun with this look. It's the Too Faced Diamond highlighter, and this is in the shade Diamond Fire. It's a very cool, hopefully you can kind of see that. It's like a cool iridescent yellow, blue, pink kind of a highlight. So let's go ahead and apply this onto the high points of the face. I'm just kind of buffing this into the skin. And I'm definitely going to take a little bit of this highlighter and apply it to the inner corner of the eye, just to match the tones on the face with the eyeshadow a little bit. And I'm going to take what's left and apply it underneath the brow bone. Okay, now I'm going to set the face. I've been trying to use this a little bit more since my last video, the Too Faced Hangover 3-in-1 primer and setting spray, and I've liked it. I'm gonna go ahead and give the face a nice spritz, or drench in this case. And then once that's almost dry, I like to take my sponge, you guys know, and just go over everything one more time to really just lock everything in and make sure it's all melted down into the skin. That highlighter is really cool. I don't know if I've ever used that like on camera before. I know I've tried it a couple times off camera, but I haven't found like a perfect occasion for using it because it's such a unique shade and I really, really like how it looks. I'm going to take a little bit of my Wet n Wild Photo Focus translucent powder and I'm going to use that to kind of set the under eye area and just around the nose, on the tip of the nose, smile lines, and the chin, and then I'm going to take what's left and just put a little bit of powder on the forehead. Okay, I'm just going to touch up the brows really quickly and then let's talk about this eyeshadow palette. All right, you guys, so this is the finished look that I created using the new Urban Decay Stoned Vibes palette. I have to say I really do love the way my eyes turned out. Now I do have some pros and cons and I already have a pretty good idea of what I would say to you guys if you've been interested in picking this up. So here are a few of my thoughts. So for me personally, this retails for $54 US, so it's definitely a pricier palette. I mean, I guess it's like the same as all the other Urban Decay eyeshadow palettes, so if you are familiar with that, then maybe it's not too much of a surprise to you. The packaging gets a 10 out of 10 for me. It's so beautiful. The thing that I realized today, based off my first impressions about this formula, is I wouldn't necessarily recommend this to a beginner in eyeshadow. And here's why. I feel like I'm very familiar with eyeshadow palettes. I feel like I've used so many types and it even took a minute for me to kind of get the hang of the formula in this. The shimmers definitely apply the best with a damp brush, the second best with a finger, and then if you want just like a little bit, you could use a brush, I guess, if you just want it to be a little bit of sparkle. The mattes seem to blend out really nicely, except for this one upon application, but then now that I have my eyes all done, nothing looks patchy to me. It all blended together, so there's that as well. But I would definitely say if you're somebody who is just so inspired by this, maybe you love the packaging, maybe you're like me and you're really into these kind of crystal tones, then I feel like you might really enjoy it. But with that being said, be sure to keep in mind that you will have to do a couple of extra steps to really get the most out of this palette. And so that's something to think about. And definitely, you know, I can also see the side where it's 2020, maybe palettes shouldn't be too difficult to work with, you know, as far as formula goes. It shouldn't be something that you have to take extra steps to get the look that you want to achieve. I don't know, but at the same time, it doesn't bother me now that I know how to use it, if that makes sense. So yeah, I really would say that this is not a beginner's palette. It's definitely something that if you are a lover of makeup and you don't mind doing things like wetting a damp brush or using an eyeshadow primer, you're gonna really enjoy this. And I honestly love how the eye look turned out. I think the colors are fantastic. The shimmers are very unique. There is definitely some glitter glitter fallout underneath the eyes. So just know that when you use this, it's going to be very glittery and ethereal, and if you're expecting that, I think you'll really enjoy it. But yeah, if you're somebody who's like not really that into eyeshadows, or if you need something that's just going to work on a whim, that you need something that's going to be every day, that's going to be easy to wear, I don't know if this would be for you. I would definitely recommend other palettes, even from Urban Decay. Like their naked palettes are very good for everyday situations. This is definitely more of an evening type, take your time to do your eyeshadow kind of a palette. I genuinely enjoyed it. It is $54. I'm not sure if it was sent to me if I would have picked it up. And if I did, I think I would have probably been disappointed in the beginning of trying it out. But once I figured out the formula, it did kind of reignite my excitement for the palette. And now that I feel like I've kind of gotten the hang of it, I feel like I will definitely dip into it even more because I love the effect that it gave on my eyes. Hopefully you can see how gorgeous and reflective that is. And I even feel like the studio lights sometimes wash out like gorgeous sparkles sometimes in a palette. So yeah, for me, I like the look and I do feel like I'm going to continue to use this. But with that being said, it was sent to me, so I didn't have to like spend my hard-earned dollars on it, but I'm happy that I have it. So yeah, if you're somebody who wants to buy it, it's gonna be up to you. As always, I recommend before purchasing anything, like look in your collection and see if it's gonna be something that really adds to your collection, or if it's just something that really inspires you or that you think is gonna make you feel beautiful, then go for it. And if it's something that, you know, you don't feel like is gonna fit into your daily life, then just don't get it, you know? It's one of those palettes for me. I don't think everybody needs it, but I'm happy to have it. So that's that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will definitely be displaying this because the packaging, again, is to die for. It's so beautiful. I hope you guys found this video to be helpful. Let me know in the comments down below if you ended up picking up this palette or if this video helped you make a decision. I would love to know in the comments. If you guys do end up picking up this palette, let me know if you would like to see more looks using it, because I definitely would like to explore more of these tones, especially like the blues and the greens in here. I would love to see how those would look on the eyes. So let me know. If you're new here, hi, my name is Allie and I would love for you to join the family. You can do so by hitting the subscribe button. And if you're already a subscriber but you want to be notified on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, click on the bell after you subscribe and you'll get a notification every single time I post. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, I hope this was helpful. I really do enjoy doing these like one product videos sometimes. I think it's really helpful for me to be able to give a much more thorough opinion because I can focus on just one thing. So hopefully that helped. I love you all so much. I hope you have an amazing day wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Love you. Bye.